Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Good morning, and here's a question for you. Do you believe in life after death? Well, the boss asked one of his employees that question, do you believe in life after death? And the clerk that worked for him said, yes, sir. And the boss replied, that's good, because after you left early yesterday to go to your grandma's funeral, she stopped in to see you. Oops. Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Have a good Wednesday. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and we'd like to welcome you to our program this morning, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with, of course, some of our great advertisers, and they are Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and, of course, our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew at 734-6969. And right now, we say good morning to a lovely lady. I got 2 lovely ladies working for me this morning, Deanne and Gina, and we just were notified of a big change, Gina, and I apologize. I didn't know it until 3 minutes ago.
So have Deanne email me the change.
I think she just did. She just did, and the change is that at 8:30, and we were not aware of this, Senator Mike Crapo is going to be calling in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, see, these last-minute flurries, that's what makes live radio so much fun.
Well, and it's always nice that he calls in to check back in with us over here in the Gem State.
Amen to that. So, without further ado, do we have a pledger?
Well, we can toss a coin. Either you and I can do it, or Michael Rogers.
No, I think you do an excellent job. It's very patriotic the way you do it, and I'm going to listen. Go ahead.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Absolutely excellent job. Thank you very much. And before we go to Michael, I want to remind everybody that wherever you're going, wherever you've been, you want to make sure that everything you put in the back of your pickup bed arrives with you. Protect your saddles and tools and groceries and everything with a shell from Save On Shells at 1835 Overland in Burley. Call Anthony at 312-1525. He'll be there and show you every kind of a shell you're looking for. We're going to tell you more about Save On Shells right after Michael Rogers weather.
Good morning. Transition period from winter to summer is known as spring. And in our weather forecast for today, you got some spring. I am here to tell you. Morning, everybody. 55 in Murtaugh. 71 for the high today. It'll be sun and clouds. 41 for the overnight low. Now, the only thing that's not going to make this perfect today is the wind. Not really bad winds. It's just going to make it kind of like uncomfortable. In other words, just up outside thinking, oh, it looks nice, I want to take the rest of the day off, and you go outside, it's like, nah, no way. So you're going to look at winds today around 10 to 15 miles an hour. That will continue into this evening. It'll die down tomorrow morning when you wake up and you watch the sunrise over the Twin Towers of Mount Harrison and Ketch Peak. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a high of 77. for tomorrow. So enjoy your day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, MichaelRogersWeather.com, and we appreciate it. And brought to you by some really good friends of mine, Save On Shells. They've got the new ARE shells for your pickups there, many, many different models, and they've got a fantastic selection of used shells. They've got commercial shells for the welders and the painters and everybody, and installation parts and service. How do I know so much about Save On Shells? Well, I'll tell you what, I bought a shell from them. You should too. Everybody needs to protect their belongings. Save On Shells, 1835 Overland and Burley, the best to have, I know, because I own one. Oh, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch for a Wednesday. Busy schedule this morning. We got to hurry up and get everything done. I want to remind everyone, too, about our friends over at Denny's Restaurant. Now, our next lunch bunch will be coming up on April the 24th, and that'll be at 11:30 in the morning or at noon. Everybody get there. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got gift cards available. You know, if you've got some friends, what a great gift to give them. It's just a gift card to go over and enjoy a wonderful meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner at Denny's Restaurant. You stop in today and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the service. These are really good people serving you at Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch at 611 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I also want to remind you that Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North will be speaking at the King Fine Arts Center. That's coming up this Saturday. Don't forget, at 7 p.m. We're going to be there. You better be there. And it's a night of patriots and today's heroes. For more information and tickets, 436-4149. That number again, 436-4149. And my dear friend Ron Ellis is helping as much as he can to get tickets out there to various businesses to sell real quick last minute. And also, the person that sells the most is going to get a float trip. Ron's sponsoring a float trip down the Salmon River. Going to be a lot of fun. Don't forget, too, Valley Wine Home and Ranch. And we keep telling you that they've got all your chickens and your chicks and all the equipment to feed, water dishes, houses, fencing, everything. But you know they've got literally everything for all your livestock needs. All your feed, all your clothing for you, all the boots. They got a great selection of boots over there. And 4-H'ers, don't forget, you'll receive a 10% discount on 4-H feed and haulers and show sticks. All of this and more with Steve and Mandy and the rest of the crew at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop over and see those good folks today. I want to just, if I can, wax, if you will, a little nostalgic. How do you like that, Gina? Wax nostalgic. Doesn't that sound good?
I haven't heard that term in a while.
Are you a baseball fan?
No.
Evidently not. Well, I am. I grew up 35 miles away from Milwaukee County Stadium back in the days with Hammerin' Hank Aaron. Now, whether you're a baseball fan or not, you've heard of Hank Aaron.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Set the record, 715 home runs, beat Babe Ruth. And I had the opportunity so many times, and this is the anniversary of that, and it's been 40 years since he broke that record, which makes me feel really old. But I had the opportunity to go to Milwaukee County Stadium as a youngster and sit there and watch Eddie Matthews, great left-handed third base slugger, Andy Pafko, Del Crandall, Warren Spahn, Lou Burdette, Willie Mays when the Giants came into town, Sandy Koufax with the Dodgers, and of course Hammerin' Hank Aaron with the Braves. Wow, with a flick of the wrist, there went a home run. And it just makes me feel good to know that I had seen the man and I met the man. I was in the dugout at one game. I was the bat boy, honorary bat boy for one game, and I had a chance to meet the man, shake hands with him, and it just makes you feel good that when you met somebody really neat that went on to break a record of all time in baseball, you had a chance to meet him. Hammerin' Hank Aaron, anniversary today of 715 home runs. Wow. Anyhow, that's my waxing nostalgic for this morning. Don't forget, incandescent light bulbs are a thing of the past, says the government, with regulations. No. No. I bought a whole box of them from Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They've got the 40, 60, 75, or 100-watt bulbs. I said I bought a box. You better get in there, too. The more you buy, the better the price. Clear or frosted at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, Gina, guess who's back in the news again?
Who would that be?
I think you know. I think you're just toying with me, but it's the New Jersey Brat.
You're kidding.
No.
What did she do this time? Is she divorcing her parents?
No, here's the deal, and I just absolutely think it's time for the parents to pull the rug out from underneath her. 18-year-old Rachel Canning is out again, texting and sending pictures of all of her party hardies. She's going out drinking every night. She is absolutely drunk every night. She's boozing every night. She's got her boyfriend going around the country till wee hours of the morning and then coming home, exactly what the parents were against. And it's done. As far as I was concerned, if I were her parents, I'd say that's it. You're out of here, no money. And tough love, we're not going to call you. You come see us when you grow up, all this. She's just flaunting this court case and what had happened when she sued her parents. She's flaunting this against her parents and doing exactly as she wants to do.
Kick her out of the house, take all of her money away. She's not going to get that far in life until she figures it out that she is not Queen Bee.
What in the world would possess, I guess I'm a little naive on this, but what would possess this 18-year-old to basically trash her family and sue them in the first place and then have that thrown out of court and then come back home and she says she's going to live and change her lifestyle and turn over a new leaf, and she should have turned over the whole tree, but anyhow, and then go right back to doing it, and her parents, basically, their hands are tied right now.
I feel sorry for the parents.
I do, too.
Really do. And I honestly think that, just cut your ties with the girl. She's 18 years old. She's of the age of being an adult. Graduation just around the corner. Let the girl graduate and say, there you go.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else to tell you. You've got a car, but you're not getting an allowance. Apparently, you're smart enough. You know everything. Go out and get a job and support yourself. I
agree with you totally. And this deal about some of these liberal lunatics were saying that the parents should be on the hook for paying for a college education and making their car payments and everything else. No. There are rules to be followed and rules in a family and a family situation. This girl has blatantly broke these rules. And you know what's worse about this whole thing? She's destroyed any kind of a reputation of her family, not just herself, but her family. And she's dragged her mom and dad and the rest of the family through the mud of her partying, her drinking, and her absolute disrespect of her mom and dad.
If I would have done that as a kid, well, I would have been kicked out of the house. A lot of reparations would have had to have been made, and my parents would not have put up with that.
Oh, my.
Point blank.
I just don't understand it. And where the liberals get off in supporting and protecting this girl. I was listening to a couple of stations talk about this, a couple of networks, and there was one liberal do-gooder on there that said, she's just evidently there's been something wrong at home. The parents did something wrong, and she's just trying to act out and reflect her personality, and her mom and dad should stay there behind her and support her and pay for her college. What? I couldn't believe this garbage.
Whoa. Okay, so this is what is wrong at home. The parents spoiled her.
Yeah.
They gave her everything.
Yeah.
They, said, baby, we love you. We want the best for you. So here it is. And here is the platter, and dine from it. And she took advantage of it. She doesn't respect it. She doesn't have to work for it. And that right there is the problem. They did not make her work for everything that they gave her.
I just absolutely can't understand this. And the liberal mindset of, they're just kids, they're just feeling their oats. Baloney, when they live at home and they're getting free food and they're getting lodging and probably paying for her clothes and everything else she has as amenities right now, and then to treat her parents like this, throw her out on her little bum.
I tried to, quote unquote, as you said, feel my oats after I graduated from high school, and I was still living at home. And guess what? My parents kicked my butt out of the house and said, if you think you know it all, then go out, my child, and figure it out.
Okay, but now let me ask you.
Right, honestly.
Let me ask you this, though.
Yes.
At the time, you probably had a lot of animosity, even bordering on the word hatred, but all of a sudden a light went on in your life, and you probably said, oh my goodness, what have I done to treat my mother and father like this? And you probably are closer to them in that situation than ever now.
Yeah. And you want to know why? Because I'm a parent now.
Yeah, boy.
When I was 17 and 18 years old, because I graduated high school when I was 17. When I was that age, I thought I knew everything, and I thought I was just the princess. And when I started going out and not obeying the family rules and the house rules, even though I was graduated from high school, they said, okay, child, since you're not going to abide by our rules, you can go and figure it out on your own.
There you go.
I did, and, to my parents, you were right.
There you go.
You're right.
I think we all have had a awakening like that. I know I did too. Believe me, rather than go into this, because I know my lovely Aunt Miriam is listening back home, and she could probably call in and share a lot more of the story than what I want told.
Come on, Aunt Miriam, call in.
Oh, don't, please. Anyway, I've got to pay some bills here real quick. Pentatron Soil Conditioner by Maisie has a 20-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops, speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stands, stimulating root growth and microbial activity. And you know what? It saves on irrigation water, and the cost really will be very limited and minimal because, hey, the water savings alone will pay for the cost of the product. Pentatron treated crops have more roots, better crop yields, better quality. Hey, don't wait a minute. Increase your crop's performance with Pentatron by Maisie. And I'm emphasizing, contact your fertilizer dealer and crop advisor today and demand Pentatron by Maisie. Absolutely. Also, don't forget on Thursdays, we have Vicky's Country Garden sponsoring Gardening for Idiots. It's a program named after me because I can't grow anything. And so we're looking forward to that tomorrow. Don't forget, Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul, 438-5663. And while we have her on the air, I want to remind you to please give us a call with any of your gardening questions. With this warmer weather coming up, believe me, a lot of gardening, a lot of outside activity, and your questions would be welcome. That's tomorrow at 9:12 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. What a... Holy cow, Gina, did you hear what happened? I don't know how many times this has ever happened in the United States. I think it's a first, and if I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected. But one university has won both the men's and the women's national basketball champion, UConn. And she's clapping her hands.
I was going to say it wasn't the University of Idaho.
Larry Udig's listening. I better not say anything.
Well, however, the ladies' basketball team did very, very well, so good for them. But awesome for UConn, men and women. Good job.
But you know what's the bad part of this, Gina?
You owe me a steak dinner?
Well, that's part of the equation I forgot about, and I'm trying to forget about. But here's the bad part. There have been riots at these colleges, Kentucky and UConn and Iowa State. And I don't know if you caught this on the news, but what is the matter with these kids today? They have no respect for property. They have no respect for laws. They're tipping cars over and burning the cars, ripping stop signs out of the ground.
Because their team lost?
Well, UConn's didn't, and they still had protests.
Wow.
Go figure. Go figure.
What is wrong with kids today?
I don't know. I'm asking this question because some of the stuff that happened in California and some of the stuff that happened at Kentucky and UConn and Iowa State last night, Iowa State University, they were ripping up stop signs. One student is in critical condition because of all the melee that took place at Iowa State, tipping over cars that were owned by private citizens and burning them. What in the world is going on in our society that you have to go out and do something so destructive? And when they interviewed some of these nitwit kids, they said, oh, it's just our spring celebration.
Okay, well, celebrate this for spring. Guess what? You guys get to pay all of the fines, and you get to pony out all of the money that it's going to take to repair everything. And check it out. You get to use your financial aid for it, and you don't get to go to classes.
Yeah, and you're going to be sitting in jail for 6 months, and hopefully the parents won't bail them out. I don't understand why we have such a destructive society today. Caller, good morning. Quickly, you're on the air. Oh, they're backing up. Look out.
That was Al.
Oh,
sorry, Al.
Okay. Did he get cut off? Okay, I'll pay a bill here real quick, and I'll talk about Travelube, and we'll get Al back on the phone. Travelube Supply with Jim McCall. Jim's going to be on the program with us tomorrow. Don't forget that. Jim always on Thursdays. Tell us about some of his specials they got over at Travelube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn. Number to call, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. I tell you, they've got all your filters. They've got all your tools. They've got all your oils. They got all the things you need to run your shop on the farm and ranch. And I'll tell you what, you just give them a call and they can help you. And they got all your bolts, metric and standard bolts, and they can provide the bolt bins too. Have bolts, will travel. Travelube Supply, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. It is time for the Capital Press Ag Minute. It is brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. And whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort from Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Here's the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Idaho dry bean acres are expected to be up 17% this year compared with 2013. Bean prices are holding steady at just under $40 per hundredweight, while prices for grains and other crops such as sugar beets that compete with beans in Idaho have declined. According to USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service, Gem State farmers intend to plant 55,000 acres of dry beans in 2014, up from 47,000 last year. Idaho dry bean acreage plummeted from 69,000 acres in 2012 to 47,000 acres in 2013, but most growers and industry leaders expect it to bounce back this year, though they differ on how much. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
All right, thank you very much. And brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Let's check with Gina and see if our dear friend Senator Mike Crapo is on the line.
Not yet.
I also want to mention, too, that, what is it, Gina? I think it's during the 10 o'clock hour. We're going to give away a couple of tickets to the Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North speech on Saturday night, correct?
Yeah. Yes,
and I've got some questions.
Ooh.
Some good ones.
Okay.
And by the way, Ron Ellis, I want to say this real quick. Ron Ellis called, and he has jumped in the middle to help with the tickets and everything, and he made a proclamation yesterday that to anyone that will help sell tickets or buy tickets, the most tickets bought, he'll offer a float trip to that person or persons, and that's the kind of a guy Ron Ellis is, and he's going to be back in town later on today, and we're going to try to get a hold of him tomorrow and talk to him about it. That's this Saturday at 7 o'clock, King Fine Arts Center, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, Patriots Night, and I really want everybody to be there. It's going to be great. Gina, I hope Deanna and I see you there. I really do.
I am going to try and make sure that I can make it there. So I've already talked to Anna, and so we've got that all set up.
All right, good. We're waiting right now for Idaho Senator and United States Senator Mike Crapo to be calling in just a moment. While we're waiting, I'll also, and I'm trying to gather up everything so I can get things done, I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. They've got not one, not two, but 3 locations here in Magic Valley serving you. And believe me, they've got the big new DL200 loader right out in front of the Burley location. Boy, this is a 2.5-yard loader with ride control. Standard lift, but I'll tell you, they've also come in high lift. They've got the nicest loaders with one of the best cabs in the industry. The Doosan loaders, I'm telling you, they've got a great display right there at Burley at 159 West Highway 30. I'm telling you, whether it's the Doosan loaders, whether it's the Coyote tractors, whatever it is, all the equipment you need is right there at Berry Equipment and Rental. They've got locations on Addison Avenue West in Twin, South Lincoln and Jerome, and that new location right there at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And that is Berry Equipment and Rental. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard Gina tell me that we have United States Senator Mike Crapo on the line, and a very good morning to Mr. Mike Crapo. How are you, Senator?
I'm well, Zeb. Good morning.
How is everything back in the land of cherry blossoms this morning?
Well, the cherry blossoms are starting to bloom, but that hasn't helped the common sense level in Congress. We're still battling back over craziness. In the Senate right now, I think Senator Reid is basically, in fact, he's openly said that they're basically not planning on doing anything substantive for the rest of the year before the election. They're just going to have a lot of messaging votes to try to turn the attention away from Obamacare in the country. And so we're going through all kinds of stuff like the minimum wage fight and other things like that, which they know are not going anywhere.
Mike, let me ask you a question right there about Harry Reid. I honestly am starting to think the man has gone daft in his old age, because he's standing up and saying things that anybody else, if it's you, me, or anybody else, would get sued by the Koch brothers especially, and making irrational statements and basic lies. How does he get away with it?
Well, you know, you're right. He's increasingly just making statements and arguments that have no foundation. The one that sticks out the most to me is when he got up a few weeks back and said that all these stories that were out there in the public about people losing their health care insurance and their insurance rates going up and so forth just were not true. Well, I'll tell you, Zeb, I mean, those who have analyzed that statement are scratching their heads saying, well, where did he come up with that? I asked my constituents in Idaho to send me their experiences and their stories about this, and I've got a bunch of folks from Idaho, thousands of people in Idaho, have either lost their insurance or have seen their insurance rates go up through the roof, and these are true. But you know, Harry continues to just say, no, it isn't true, and Obamacare is working.
You know, later on this morning, Mike, I've got Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia, coming on my program to talk about this debacle of Obamacare. You were one of the front runners to fight it and denounce it when it started in its progress, Obamacare, years ago. But now help me on this, Mike. Originally, we were going to have Obamacare thrust at us to save and help 40 million people. Okay. Now, they claim that they've had 7 million people sign up, many of which had their insurance canceled, so they had to re-sign up to get somewhat coverage. And the whole health insurance industry is in a turmoil. Did we turn our whole health insurance industry in America upside down for just 7 million people? And we're still going to have 40 million people uninsured.
Well, you know, the answer to your question is it's even worse than what you said, because as you indicated, that entire 7 million number does not represent people who were uninsured before Obamacare and now have been able to get insurance. If it were that way, we could question whether the entire damage that was done to our healthcare system and to everyone else in the healthcare system was worth the cost of how we got healthcare to that 7 million people. But the truth is, first of all, as you said, a lot of those people had insurance before and had insurance they liked and lost it because of the bill and had to sign up on Obamacare. That's several millions of those people. There's another large percentage of people in there who got on the website and started an application but never followed through with it and took it to the end and actually aren't necessarily signed up and covered, but their numbers are included in that total. And I've seen estimates, first of all, we don't know what the true numbers are, but I've seen estimates that as low as 23% of that 7 million number truly are people who didn't have insurance before and got insurance on the Obamacare exchange. And even if we use the 7 million figure, which is not accurate, the cost of insuring that 7 million people is phenomenal in comparison to how it could have been achieved in other ways that didn't do the damage to our healthcare system.
As a senator of the United States of America, Mike, wouldn't it have been a lot more sensible to sit down in a bipartisan fashion and figure out a plan that would have been separate and only to perhaps the 40 million people at that time of uninsured, and work on that plan for them and leave the rest of the basics of healthcare alone?
It would have been much better. As a matter of fact, at the time when we were debating it, there were two huge issues. One was the number of uninsured, and the other was the skyrocketing costs of health care. We should have dealt with those two issues in a direct, straightforward way. And let me just take the first one, the so-called 40 million who are uninsured. That large number, the 40 million number, includes a significant number of people who are not citizens of the United States, and many of which are not legally present in the United States. And one could ask the question as to whether the United States taxpayers should subsidize health care for that category. Another large percentage of that number is people between the ages of about 20 and 40 who choose not to buy insurance because they believe that they can pay for their own health care costs less expensively than buying an insurance product. And they are basically right in that age category. And so the question is, should we force them to buy insurance when they choose not to? Mm-hmm. And the list goes on and on. There are numbers of others on that list who are qualified for either Medicaid or Medicare, but for some reason did not sign up for it. And when you get down to the true numbers of those who were uninsured, it's a much smaller number than the 40 million, and it was something that we could have dealt with in a very straightforward and easy way rather than disrupting our entire system.
Absolutely. I've got to ask you about this, Mike, because I watched television the last couple of days and I'm just shaking my head. Why in the world is the Obama administration, and Obama in particular, trying to act on equal pay laws? And let me just state my case quickly. There can never be equal pay because of people hired at a different time and raises for the job, and there's always going to be some disparity. Where does he get off trying to say that men and women are going to have absolutely equal pay?
Well, first of all, the discrimination against a woman or a man on the basis of their gender is already illegal. It's been illegal for years and years and years. So your question was, why is he bringing this up again to restate that it's illegal to discriminate on the basis of gender? The reason I believe that he's trying to push this again is because he's trying to divert attention away from Obamacare and to create an election issue claiming that Republicans don't support women. And, frankly, this has been a theme that he and his campaign team have tried to drive for years now, and this is just the latest step in their strategy to try to create the impression that Republicans want to allow discrimination against women to happen in the workplace. And nothing could be further from the truth. The Republicans very strongly support protecting women against discrimination in the workplace, and that is already the law.
Mike, I got to ask you this. There seems to be another fly in the milk back there in this administration, and he seems to be drinking a lot of the milk and becoming more vocal and causing more problems, and that's Eric Holder. Yesterday, Eric Holder made the news in some negative fashion. Some of the congressmen, like Louis Gohmert and Blake Farenthold, they thought that maybe because of his not putting forth the information, Eric Holder should be in jail. Any other American citizen would be if he denied what was requested by Congress. What about Eric Holder? He seems to be really pushing his authority and superseding his power.
Well, I think that he is. I'm not in the House and wasn't a part of those hearings and that effort to try to obtain information from him, so I can't speak in detail about that specific instance. But what we've seen on issue after issue is that Eric Holder is very reluctant to openly deal in a transparent way with Congress, and very often takes positions that are contrary to what the proper policy of our government should be, and when Congress seeks oversight over his activities to try to expose what he's doing and bring political pressure to stop him, he's very, very resistant to coming forward to Congress. Now, the House does have subpoena power, and I know they have considered using that subpoena power, and the failure to respond to that power can involve some criminal penalties or citations for contempt of Congress. And I wouldn't be surprised if something along that line ultimately developed as an effort to try to force Eric Holder to be more transparent and open with Congress.
Mike, final thought here this morning. I know you got to run, but I want to have you answer this. There seems to be more of a blatant attempt by the Obama administration, of course, with that treaty signed with the UN on gun control. Eric Holder coming out and saying that gun owners like myself, and I'm proudly a gun owner, would have to buy a bracelet in order to be tracked by the government, all gun owners, before they could use a gun, and perhaps it would also coordinate with the smart guns with the fingerprints. And Mike, this is just another form of control and, as far as I'm concerned, possible confiscation of legal gun owners.
I agree with you, and that issue area, the Second Amendment right to bear arms, is one of those in which Eric Holder has, among other administration officials, has sought to pursue policies that restrict the free ability to exercise Second Amendment rights. And so I strongly agree with you. On a similar vein, I recently became a co-sponsor of legislation we're moving here to push back and try to protect American citizens better and stop taxpayer dollars from being used to create lists of who owns guns in any context. But they're trying to figure out how they can create those lists, and then the next step will be to use those lists to identify who the gun owners are in America. This notion you brought up about having to wear the bracelet ought to be of concern to every American who has a commitment to the Second Amendment right to bear arms. People should be up in arms about it. It
Absolutely.
Is truly an offensive effort to try to restrict the free exercise of the right to bear arms.
Final thought here this morning, short answer on this. Is Obama going to sign in favor or not of the Keystone Pipeline, in your opinion?
I honestly believe that he is going to essentially rope-a-dope this and keep coming up with excuses not to sign it. I hope I'm wrong, but I believe that Congress needs to act to force his hand. And if we could ever get such a vote on the floor of the Senate, we would win that vote. We would have enough pressure on enough of the president's own Democratic senators that I believe we could send a strong message to the White House. But Harry Reid won't let us put that issue on the floor of the Senate. Bottom line, though, Zeb, is I hope I'm wrong, but I don't have confidence that he will ever sign the necessary documentation to let the XL pipeline move forward.
Mike, yesterday you had one of my neighbors to see you, Davy Mussman, on behalf of Physical Therapy. I told her that you were a very nice man, and I think she enjoyed the visit with you yesterday. I believe she saw you in the office.
Thank you. We always love to have Idahoans come out here because they bring some of their common sense with them, and I always tell them to leave their common sense behind because they can get rejuvenated when they get back to Idaho.
Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks an awful lot. United States Senator Mike Crapo. Thanks, Mike. I'll look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. All righty. Boy, we got through a whole plethora of different questions and answers, and some honest answers, I think, this morning, too, about certain situations regarding Obamacare, regarding energy. Mike's very worried about Obama playing politics up to the last minute and not signing the Keystone Pipeline, and the gun issue. This deal with Eric Holder. I want to read you some of this commentary. Yesterday, as he was testifying, Louis Gohmert, and I really want to compliment Louis Gohmert of Texas. He didn't back up. He didn't cower in the corner. He just looked at Eric Holder and just put fire in his eye. Here's what happened yesterday, and I'm just going to read you some of the exchange between Attorney General Eric Holder and Texas Republican Louis Gohmert. And Gohmert had made a side comment about how the House of Representatives found Eric Holder in contempt in 2012 for refusing to turn over documents related to the Fast and Furious gun running scandal. Okay, here's what Gohmert said. I realize that contempt is not a big deal to our Attorney General, but it is important that we have proper oversight. And then here is what Holder fired back. He said, you don't want to go there, buddy. You don't want to go there, okay? Holder shot back. And then the Texas Republican said, I don't want to go there? No, Holder said, leaning forward in his seat. And Gohmert said, about the contempt? And here's what Holder said. You should not assume that this is not a big deal to me. I think that was inappropriate. I think it was unjust, but never think that that was not a big deal to me. Don't ever think that. And then he pointed his finger at Gohmert. And then Gohmert reiterated that the Justice Department has still not produced the documents related to Holder's contempt charge. And so see, these people, Obama, Holder, everybody, Kerry, Hagel, they're all above us. They're all above the Constitution. They're all above the law. And here was a congressman that had the backbone, caught myself, had the backbone to stand up and look him in the eye and say, hey, you ought to be in jail. And it's the truth. We've got to have the weather forecast right now by Michael Rogers, weather.com, and it's brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. These are wonderful people and great service for the community at 382 North Overland in Burley. Excuse me, minor emergencies, major care. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. Walk-ins are welcome, and they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7. And believe me, they specialize in making you feel better, saving you time and money. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. We're going to have a sunny day. Yes, we are. I can see Gina sitting there going, dude, do not give up your day job. And that's okay. Partly cloudy for today. That is the official nomenclature term from the National Weather Service. But basically, you're going to see sun and clouds. I told you the day before yesterday, you're going to see sun and clouds for the next 10 days. So far, it's working out as advertised. 71 for the high today, 41 for the overnight low. Now, it's still going to be breezy. Tonight's going to be pretty breezy. It's going to stay that way until Friday. Other than that, tomorrow, mainly sunny with a daytime high of 70. Springtime in the Magic Valley. Enjoy the weather. Dylan, what do you got?
Michael's feeling well this morning. Hey, thank you very much to MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you this hour by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley. Minor emergencies, major care. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you this morning, so give us a jingle. And while I'm waiting for your calls, I'd like to remind you, too, once again, that Ramsey Heating and Electric is helping out with your Lennox home comfort systems. That's right, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will always enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey's at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. What else have we got cooking? Oh, tip of the coffee cup this morning. I almost forgot. And our tip of the coffee cup this morning goes to Rocky and Becca Matthews in Murtaugh, and also Mr. and Mrs. Clyde Kendall. Wonderful people and good friends of mine. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes.
Talking about Obamacare and people thinking that if they have Medicare, that it isn't affecting them and everything's okay. I've got news for them. Medicare is not paying for any kind of testing, blood work, or anything. I have put off, the doctor put off for 2 years because he said, oh, you're just getting old, we won't worry about it. Well, finally he said, we've got to get to the bottom of what's going on with you and know what's going. So we did 8 different tests. I got my letter from Medicare. We do not pay 1 penny of this, and the facility should have told you that we wouldn't pay for this before they did the work.
You're kidding me.
People better be aware and checking into what Medicare actually will pay. I know I will sure find out before I do anything more.
I tell you what I'm going to be doing later on this morning, Adrian, is one of the most noted authorities on Obamacare and very, very disgusted with it is Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia. And she's been on my program before discussing this. She's going to be on at 10:30 this morning. I am absolutely specifically going to ask her about the shortcomings on Medicare, and we'll see what she has to say about that.
Thank you very much, Deb.
Thank you. God bless you. I hope everything goes better. Thank you very much. All righty. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. You know, we were talking yesterday a little bit about drones. Now, I told you that I read this book. It was sent to me, and I had the gentleman on the air, Michael Maden, M-A-D-E-N, had written a book called Drones, and it was a fiction book about, and it was well before its time, believe me. It was a fiction book, and it was all about drones and how we're going to be overwrought with drones, and they're going to come into our lives. They're going to be absolutely very dangerous. They're going to be spying on us, and they could deliver the kiss of death. In this book, the drones were used to drop bombs. The drones were used to basically machine gun and kill people. And all of a sudden this morning, what story do we hear? A Moroccan national man, a Muslim, has been arrested back east for trying to outfit a drone with a bomb and terrorize a university and possibly bomb a public school institution. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not worried about this, I am. This Moroccan man was arrested for allegedly planning to use a remote-control drone to bomb a university building and federal building, and was able to remain in the United States by lying to immigration officials. Here's another case as to why we need to tighten the screws on immigration and find out who's here and why. This Moroccan man was asked about his staying in this country. He lied and said he had various permits and everything else. The judge didn't pursue it. They left him here, and now he's been arrested for trying to outfit a drone to bomb an educational facility. Are you not worried about this stuff? I just, every day I get on this program and I try to alert you folks as to what's going on out there, and the list of worries is basically endless. We are under attack, and my good friend Tony, that calls in from Twin Falls every day, he absolutely has done a lot of research on what's going on around this country with the various enemy sites where they're training right here in this country Muslim and extreme Islamic terrorists to rise up against us. They have found these and I'm not making this up, folks. There have been many, many news reports about this. There's been books written about this in upper state New York, down in Texas, the Lone Star State, and even our next door neighbor in Oregon. They're here. They're here. And they don't like you and I. And our government, our senators and our congressmen, and our president, they do nothing. But they give us lip service, and if you call in or send them a letter questioning about how safe we really are, you'll get back a form letter. Boy, that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? It's scary. And then you have people literally standing in front of a judge and lying about their status to be here in the United States, and the judge buys it, lets the guy stay here, and he ends up trying to build a bomb plot to kill American students. Holy cow. Big tire sale going on right now at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and every tire is on sale. All the different tread designs for your cars, your pickups, your SUVs. All you have to do is just stop into the locations and check out the tires that best befit your vehicle. Yes, and your driving. See Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Randy on Overland and Burley, and talk to them about all the tires you need. Talk to them about, of course, brake service. They've got the best in brake service. And, of course, the shocks and the struts and the front end alignments and the batteries and the custom wheels. Holy cow, big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Gina, why is it that Americans, that even people that live right here in a very conservative part of the United States, are so naive about what's going on, and people, bad guys and bad women, coming in trying to kill us?
Either, number one, they're not informed and not paying attention, or number two, we're just never told. The information is not put out there, i.e., from the entities that are allowing these immigrants to come in.
You know, and I'm going to say this, and if the College of Southern Idaho is offended by it, that's their problem, not mine. But they have been aiding and abetting a lot of refugees to come into this area from Somalia and other countries around the world, and do we really know who these people are? Do we really have background checks on these people? Are we giving them way too much as far as housing and food and education and everything else, and yet not even helping our own people right here locally to obtain an education? I am very upset about this.
I'm very upset about, we've just pretty much opened up our borders. We don't allow our Border Patrol officers to do their job. Oh, just run and hide or throw rocks at them. And if they have a gun, well, just let them pass. Whatever happened to when you come to this country, you have to go through the naturalization process. You have to go through the classes.
That's right.
You have to take tests. You have to swear an oath to abide by the laws of this land and the United States Constitution, and they do not.
Well, what does it mean to you?
Do that anymore.
What does it mean to you when you hear the words melting pot? That means to me that everything is put in the top, like maybe tomatoes and beans and carrots and everything, and it all comes out the bottom, melted together in a unified form.
Amen.
And that's what we've lost in this country. We are no longer a melting pot. We are allowing other cultures and other people, and they're coming in, and they want their culture here. They want their language here, and they even want their laws here, and they are destroying the culture of America.
And you are absolutely correct. America, and I remember back in the 70s hearing the cartoon, what was it, that America is a melting pot.
Yeah.
And so today it's not. We've got the Muslims, and they want their own communities, and they want Sharia law. And then we've got, the people coming up from Mexico that don't really want to actually acclimate themselves.
They don't want to assimilate. They don't want to assimilate.
And they need to. That is what America was based on. We are a melting pot of many different cultures.
There you go.
But you have to embrace America itself. And what is happening is self-appointed segregation.
There you go. And very well put. I'm going to talk more about this because it's a real mad issue with me. Holy smokes, I'm late. I got to go. I'll see you in 6. Welcome back. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers. And they include also Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Well, there's a lot of things planned for the summer, of course, and when you have those different events, you're going to need all the porta potties, and they've got those for rental right there at Western Waste Services, along with the weekly trash pickup. You betcha we've been on that program for a long time. Absolutely the best. And don't forget, too, they've got the Go Minis, the portable storage units. They are good for all your storage needs. Absolutely check on those today, 734-6969. The words are right. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. You contact them today. Also want to remind you about our dear friends. Hello, Joel Heward, owner-manager, along with his staff at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And they always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They really care. That's the key word. They really care. Please contact them for pre-planning of funeral information to help alleviate a lot of the stress and worry for our families. Their telephone number, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Well, let's go to the phone lines right now, and we're going to take a little commercial break at about 15 after the half hour, Doug. Good morning, Doug Johnson. Go in Colorado. How are you, my dear friend?
Well, I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Good. Now, I was reading your blog, the Horse Sense blog, and of course, Doug, we're going to talk a little bit about his new book called The Leadership Secret in just a little bit. But I was reading your blog, and I have not been to many movies at all lately, let alone the movie called Noah. Tell me your Doug Johnson review of the movie. I'd like to hear what you thought about it.
Well, it's really not a review of the movie. I haven't seen it. I don't intend to see it. I used the opportunity in the blog to talk about the fact that, as is typical when Hollywood puts out anything with something biblical in the name or the theme, whether it's accurate or not, it raises all sorts of ire of anti-religious folks, especially saying that, the Bible's a bunch of mythology and it's not true and it's not scientific. And so I decided to use the opportunity, Zeb, to, and it's really something people should read and chew on as opposed to try and just, say it, but to share some things I've learned over the years, because I used to be an atheist, I used to be an evolutionist, I used to embrace all of that. I don't anymore. I became a Christian as an adult and started studying and changed a whole bunch of my views. And in that process have learned a few things and have learned that while the Bible is not a scientific textbook, it is a book that does not conflict with science and supports science and actually reveals things to man long before we ever discovered them on our own. And so I try to list a bunch of those things.
Doug, I'm going to back up a little bit in your verbiage. What was the turning point in your life from being an atheist and then an agnostic? What was there, a light switch all of a sudden that went on, a bolt from the blue, or what was it, a slow process? What happened to you?
It actually, I grew up in people would call it a Christian home. My parents would go to church. When I was a little kid, we went every week. Then by the time I was in early elementary school, we were going once or twice a year, Christmas and Easter kind of thing. But my parents weren't believers. They went out of respect and felt it was a good moral upbringing for us kids. And so as the years went by, I started to question it. And I got through high school and such and got into college. And as I was going through this whole process and I was wrestling with it, I was active in sports and music and other extracurricular activities in school. And one year, the first day of school, I met a kid who became my closest friend, and he was a Christian. And for 3 years, we argued about religion. And actually for about 4 years, maybe even 5. And after a year or two, I accepted his challenge to study. But my idea was not to find out what the Bible had to say, but to show him he was wrong. But I didn't just study the Bible. I spent 3 years, Zeb, studying the world's major religions. And after 3 years, I couldn't deny that Christianity was unique and that Jesus was unique in history. And so at that point is when I chose to become a Christian, because it was so evident I couldn't deny it any longer.
You know, Doug, in my particular case, I just look outside. I look outside my window. I see the snow-capped peaks. I see the birds flying. I see the greenery with the new grass and the trees starting to bud out. And I see all of this, and I see the sun and the clouds. And how could one ever perceive the evolutionary theory of everything coming from a single amoebic cell? Believe me, I believe in the creation. I believe in Jesus. And I just absolutely every day am refurbished with that thought when I just look outside my window.
Well, it's really interesting you say that, Zeb, because in growing up, I grew up in, most of my life I spent growing up in the Twin Cities, in a suburb of Minneapolis called Bloomington, which is actually Bloomington's the third largest city in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a special experimental school system from 7th through 12th grade. It was a progressive school system, very, very, very left-leaning. And in that system, we were taught that evolution was a fact. I mean, all the things you hear today, I was taught way back then. And so that's what I was fighting in my own mind, in my own life, way back then. And I had this, this whole process I was going through in my mind and in my heart about what was going on. But it's really interesting you mentioned, you look out at the snow-capped peaks and you see the grass. And it's really, really fascinating to me that you say that, because not only does the Bible tell us that God's creation shows us his existence and his glory, but I have found in my years as a Christian that one of the most powerful and comforting things to me, knowing that God is in control of everything and ultimately will prevail, is nature. And the snow-capped mountains, when you said that, that really hits me, because I've lived all over this country. In my adult life, I've moved across this country 19 times. And when I got to Colorado, I stopped, because I love the mountains. It's gorgeous here. And probably more than anywhere I have lived or ever been, the mountain areas really, really impress me with God's majesty and his grandeur. And so it's interesting to me that you would actually mention that, because that's a very, very precious point to me.
Absolutely. Doug, I'm going to ask your indulgence and patience for about 60 seconds. I've got to pay some bills. I'll be right back with Doug Johnson. Don't forget Whipple's Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley, 678-2505, open Monday through Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. with our dear friend Colonel Dale Whipple. And all your Easter gifts are right there. They've got all the Bibles. They've got all the Easter coloring books. They've got everything. Literally, all the books, everything you're looking for is right there at Whipple's Book Plaza. They have it all. And it's also the home of the National Pioneer Hall of Fame. Stop in today and see them at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. That's Whipple's Book Plaza. Open, like I said, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And then don't forget, too, for all your insurance needs, and I want to stress that, all your insurance needs, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, you'd better make sure that you've got everything covered for you, your family, and perhaps your business. You get a hold of our pros, Dean, Cameron, Todd, Siemens, very dedicated and responsive to your needs, and believe me, they're accessible to help you. All you have to do is call them at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Doug, I don't care about the movie Noah. I don't care about Hollywood. I don't care about any of that. I've got my beliefs, and nothing's going to shake or waver it. But there is a concentrated attack, and I do not think that you're going to argue with me on this point. There is a concentrated attack, more so now than ever before, because I think there's an extreme fear of Jesus. Would you agree with that or not?
I missed the last part of your last sentence, Zeb. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was saying I believe today.
Attack, and I didn't hear on what.
Well, on Jesus, I think that there's a bigger attack and a more concentrated attack, and there's a fear basing that attack on Jesus and the philosophy. Would you agree or not on that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think it's a surprise. I mean, Jesus even warned his disciples, his followers, that not only would he be attacked, but they would be attacked for following him. So I don't think it's a surprise, but I think it has intensified in America to a level we've never seen before and is getting worse.
I agree. We've got a caller with a question, and go ahead, caller, please.
Yes, Doug, lately I've been reading about Marx and Engels and the Communist Manifesto and how they had these theories on on how, life became. And then, of course, the theory of evolution, both of them are so simplistic that it is truly laughable to me. And when you start thinking about the intelligent design of literally everything on Earth, and you say to yourself, well, logically, it's hard to believe that a being could create heaven and earth, but when you start to think about it, you realize there has to be intelligent design, and there is logic to everything and purpose. And if you study it like you did, and you came to this conclusion, when people are uninformed about what their capabilities are because they are children of the Creator or God, they realize how important their lives are. But when we are uninformed about it, it literally creates a hopelessness, and you can sense it in our young people. And I'll hang up. Thanks.
Okay, Randy, thank you for your comments. Doug, respond to that, please.
It's hard to say much other than amen, because he's absolutely right. That is it. And it is a simplistic mindset. Evolutionary thought and communist thought, which both go hand in hand, are very simplistic and very foolish, and they're also very arrogant. One of the things that really hits me about the left, and that's where this whole mindset comes from, is that it's so self-centered, so narcissistic, which is what our society's become. I mean, Zeb, and I know you've said it, and I've said it, and I don't know if we said it together on the show or not, but I know I've heard you say it on your show, and I'm sure you've heard me say it. It's absolutely arrogant for man to think that we actually have the power, more power than God or than nature. I mean, the left doesn't admit God, so they would say nature. But this idea that we could destroy the earth, for example, is ridiculous. All you have to do is live through a natural disaster. And I have personally lived through tornadoes, lost everything in a tornado. I've lived through hurricanes. I've lived through earthquakes. And, of course, last year, forest fires came so close. And every time I see something like that, especially up close, it overwhelms me, the power God has put into nature. And I realize man has no power that even comes close.
Amen. We've got another caller with a question. Quickly, caller, go ahead, please.
I'd like to make the comment, man has no power. You're right. And I think it's arrogant that there's some that believe you have to do good works to get to heaven, because you don't. In Ephesians 2:8-9, it says it's a gift of God. It's a gift from God. So I think it's arrogant when you think you have to work to get to heaven.
Very well stated, and I'll have Doug comment on that. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, the Bible is very clear that man does not have the ability to get there on his own. We can only get there by faith, and faith is a gift from God. So even the faith to become a child of God is given to us as a gift. We have nothing we can do to get there. And if we did, then there would have been no purpose for Christ to die for us.
That's right.
So you're absolutely right. And I am always brokenhearted when I hear people who don't understand that and think that it's their good works. It doesn't mean that we don't strive to live a good life, and the Bible is very clear that if you are truly one of God's, you will live a good life. The Bible is extremely clear about your fruit, but it's a result of the faith. It's not what causes the faith.
Doug, I'm going to shift gears, and we're going to step way over to another subject, far removed from what we're talking about, because I want your comments on this, because I'm very concerned about this. We, in the last couple of days, have been seeing, hearing, and reading about what this administration wants to do and change as far as gun control and gun ownership. And now they're talking with Eric Holder about having a common sense gun control attitude of having to wear bracelets, and before your gun would be able to shoot, and wear a bracelet to let everybody know where you are and what kind of a gun owner you are. All of this is just one word, 11 word called control.
Well, absolutely. And this is a perfect example of every aspect of what this government is doing, whether it's regarding Second Amendment rights or anything else. We even, we see it in First Amendment rights constantly, and this is just one more example. I'm not shifting gears on you here, Zeb, but I think what mirrors that really well and we should be very concerned about, is that this week the Supreme Court refused to hear the case for the New Mexico photographer who declined to do wedding pictures for a gay couple. And when the New Mexico court said, it's the price of being a citizen, you must serve them, it doesn't matter what your religion is, it was taken to the U.S. Supreme Court, who has now refused to hear the case. These are both situations. What you raised and what I just raised are two sides of the same coin. We have a government out of control trying to control our lives, and we need to be extremely concerned.
You know, you talk about this, and then we talk about other situations that have come up, and drones. We kidded one time on the program, I remember this, about drones being all over the United States, people owning drones to perhaps drop a gift off at their neighbors, etc. And I made the comment on that program with you that day that I was very concerned because of the bad guy attitude out there, where they could start using drones to do some very serious and dangerous things. We just learned that there was a Muslim man, a Moroccan man, that was arrested because he had plotted to put a bomb on a drone and have it fly into a Eastern university here in this country. Doug, we are not safe at all anymore with any kind of thought or any new technology.
No, we're not. And what's scary, Zeb, is how many people are embracing this. They're not having a problem with it. The lax attitude of Americans is very frightening. I emailed you, and I know you're on your show, so you haven't had time to see it yet, but I emailed you an article this morning about another issue that once again, it's two sides of the same coin. I'm sure you heard this past week that Brendan Eich, the CEO of Mozilla, the Firefox web browser, one of the two most popular browsers in the world, had to resign because it came out that in 2008 he gave a $1,000 donation to support traditional marriage in the Proposition 8 in California, and that came out, and he was forced to resign. And I wrote a blog post about that on the Horror Sense blog also, and there was an article this morning that was interesting, and I actually tested it, and like I say, I sent this to you, Zeb, because you may want to talk to your audience about this. Firefox, the browser that they make now, if you use it, and you go into certain websites, conservative websites, and I tried to do it this morning, it comes up with a warning saying you may not want to go to this site. It goes against our values. And so they're actually doing corporate censoring of what you're allowed to look at with their free web browser that people can use to see the Internet.
Yeah, but Doug, right there, I want you also to respond to the charges that we've heard that Obama and his administration want to basically give the Internet to other countries and basically the world, and think of the terrible censorship that could take place upon that move.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, we are, you know, and a lot of people I keep saying we're about to lose our freedoms, we're about to lose this land. My stand I have come to, Zeb, is we have lost them. We have a very small window of time left to get them back because our country is so out of control. And you know, all the world is, but our country is now too. We used to be the shining light on the hill, and now we're fogged in, I guess you could say, and we need to clear the air and make it clear we are a constitutional republic. People have freedom, and freedom trumps everything. There is nothing more important than freedom. And this example, in fact, in my blog when I wrote about this situation with Mozilla, their executive chairwoman wrote a piece saying that when you're trying to balance equality and free speech, it's a hard thing to do, and I responded to her and said, no, it's not. Freedom trumps everything. I don't have to agree with you, but I will fight for your right to think and believe what you want to believe and say what you want to say, because that's what America is about, and that's how you actually get to a society that is better for people.
You know, Doug, let me ask you this real quick, and I've only got a minute left, but there are many senators and congressmen now that are starting to smell the coffee and wake up on this issue about the Internet. And I heard one this morning say, my goodness, I didn't really know about how serious this was until I started thinking about it. We could have a complete mind control on a universal basis globally if we do this with giving away the Internet. Would you agree?
You know, I haven't thought about it that way, but that's true. Because in totalitarian societies, the government always controls the information that's given to the public. So when people have beliefs, it is controlled by what they're fed, the information they're fed. a free society is better because we're allowed to develop our own thoughts. But for example, you go to the Middle East, and there has been for generations a lot of false thought, not just said but taught in their schools, through their media, that is anti-Israel, that Jews are some sick creature, not human, and all these things. And a vast majority of people in those parts of the world believe this stuff because this is the only information they're given. They're not given truth. They're not allowed to sort things out. So, yeah, I think you're right. It could be very, very dangerous.
All right. Doug, I want to wish you the very best. Now, quickly, tell us about the book. We can't go until we hear about the book.
Okay, well, The Leadership Secret is my latest book, and I take my 39 years of business experience and what I learned about leadership, and I lay out examples of what it takes to be a true leader, and show how those examples, and I use them, of course, my background's business, so it's all business scenarios, but I use those as examples to show that these are the kind of character traits we need in the people we elect to public office and in other areas of leadership.
Very well done. And my buddy from Colorado, Doug Johnson, of course, with the Horse Sense blog and author of great books. Doug, God bless you. We'll see you next Wednesday at 9:06.
Sounds great, Zeb. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. I really look forward to having him on the program. Very knowledgeable person about what's going on in world affairs. Doug Johnson, thank you. Don't forget Big Spring Cleaning Inventory Reduction Sale going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Right now, right this very minute. You can go in and save all kinds of money on carpeting. Oh, my goodness. They've got all the different kinds of carpeting you could ever want. All the vinyl floors for less. And, of course, don't forget, too, they've got all the bedroom sets and all the mattresses. They got good, better, and best mattresses at prices that you can't afford to pass up. And, of course, all the furniture, whether it's your sofas, whether it's your recliners, whether it's all the accessories, everything is at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Right now at 459 Overland and Burley. You stop in and see those good people today. Another sponsor that I want to highlight right now that I really appreciate, and that's Let's Ride, where the fun is sold, and that's on Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. They're open on Tuesdays through Saturdays, 9 to 6. And don't forget, April 22nd of this month will be the last day for Snow Check on the select 2015 snowmobiles. What is Snow Check? Well, you can choose your sled, choose the color, choose your options, customize your sled to suit your riding style. All of this, all you have to do is get in there, put a $500 deposit down, and you've got it built just the way you want it. So stop into Let's Ride, and don't forget they've got all the ATVs, the Can-Am side-by-side, some great deals on that, rebates and great financing, all of this and more, where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. We are in just a very few moments going to have the governor of the state of Idaho, Governor Butch Otter, call into our program, and we're going to discuss quite a few different things with him. The past legislative session and also what he's looking forward to on his new venture to try to be reelected again as governor of the state. And that'll be coming up in just a moment. But right now, we're quickly going to do the weather forecast. And the weather this hour is brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. If you purchase a firearm from Red's Trading Post and receive training bucks for both LMS Defense and Shaw Shooting to use in their rifle and pistol training courses. Very, very important. You check it out today. All the guns, ammo, and accessories at Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. We're going to have a sunny day. Yes, we are. I can see Gina sitting there going, dude, do not give up your day job. And that's okay. Partly cloudy for today. That is the official nomenclature term from the National Weather Service. But basically, you're going to see sun and clouds. I told you the day before yesterday, you're going to see sun and clouds for the next 10 days. So far, it's working out as advertised. 71 for the high today, 41 for the overnight low. Now, it's still going to be breezy. Tonight's going to be pretty breezy. It's going to stay that way until Friday. Other than that, tomorrow, mainly sunny with a daytime high of 70. Springtime in the Magic Valley. Enjoy the weather, Dylan, what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. RogersWeather.com. And brought to you this hour by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Gina, let's check over at your location. The governor's ready to go, I believe.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to have the governor of the great state of Idaho on my program, Governor Butch Otter. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zed. How's everything down in the Mexico area?
We are doing fine, sir, and it's good to hear from you, and I'm going to start things off by asking you a question and also making a statement. I have known you... I've known you for almost 40 years, and you've always had the attitude of open the chute and let her buck, and that's been your attitude. Do you still have that fire for another term as governor of the great state of Idaho?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're cinched in pretty tight, and got a good crew working the chute for us, so we're ready to go.
Now, there's a lot of issues that are up and still running from the legislative session, and I'm going to throw some things at you this morning and see what your thoughts are. One of the things that a lot of people call into my program, Governor, and are asking about, the feasibility and the possibility of Idaho taking over some of the federal lands in the state of Idaho. Talk to me a little bit about that. What are your thoughts on this, and is it possible?
Well, sure, anything is possible. We just got to keep working at it. But we are, in fact, taking over management of some of the federal lands in the state of Idaho. I just submitted, it's a half-inch thick report to the Forestry Department, to the Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C., the legislative enabling act that they passed, I'm going to say it was maybe 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, allowed for the state of Idaho and other states to designate what they call areas that are threatened by bugs, by disease, that's killing our forest. And like I said, we submitted a pretty extensive report saying that in Idaho we've got roughly 12,000 acres that are like that, and we designated specifically about 1,200,000 acres that we want to start treating in Idaho. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember the press conference that Mike Crapo, Mike Simpson, Jim Risch, and the Secretary of Interior, and also Bob Bonney from the Department of Agriculture, called a press conference in Boise, and at the National Interagency Fire Center, up by the airport. And Crapo and Wyden, Ron Wyden out of Oregon, put together a bill that will allow for what we call categorical exemptions. Mm-hmm. And those categorical exemptions says that without a lot of potential lawsuits, without a lot of folks coming in wanting to stop us from doing cleaning up the forest and making it healthy again, we can go in and start cleaning that forest under a provision in the new forest, in the new Agriculture Act. So there is a opportunity for us to demonstrate to folks all over the United States that we can manage the forest at the state level. We can use those resources for our sawmills. We can protect our forest and our endowment lands, which are adjacent to the national forest, and subsequently lower the fire costs that we have. Last year, our fire costs in Idaho totaled about $200 million, of which about $15 million of that had to be paid by the state. And so I think it's a maturing process that when we can demonstrate what a good, healthy forest should look like and what a good, healthy forest can do to prevent forest fires. Good management is good prevention. good prevention is going to lower our firefighting costs and the air pollution that results from the forest fires.
Absolutely. Another land issue that has taken prominence in the state of Idaho has been, and it's split the public and it's split a lot of opinions by various people, the White Clouds issue as far as possibly becoming and obtaining monument status. What is your thought as governor of the state of Idaho on the White Clouds area?
Well, obviously, that's been in the works for a long, long time, and folks have looked upon that area and said, in fact, I can remember when C. Sanders first won the governorship back in 1970. I don't know if you remember this, Zeb, but I do, because he was worried about folks going in there and mining. And that became one of the key issues, whether or not they were going to go up there and mine for precious metals or whatever. I think we've discounted that for quite some time. But that whole area is an extremely attractive area for tourism, for recreation, for hunting, for the kind of activities that Idahoans love. And I would resist any effort to shut that down and make that some kind of a reserve or a preserve that we're not allowed to go in there and actually enjoy the recreational potential of that. In the summertime or in the wintertime, it's a pretty attractive area for snowmobiling. In the hunting season, it's a pretty attractive area for hunting. But we manage the game in there, and I think we manage it very well. And so, if the intent is to shut down the White Clouds area and not be allowed to do anything at all in there, then I would resist that.
All right. Governor, yesterday I had Representative Fred Wood on my program, and one of the issues that we talked about was roads, maintenance of roads, upkeep, etc., but there's just not the money to take care of everything the way it should be. Have you got any new ideas leading into perhaps your next term that would help with the money for the roads and transportation?
Well, as Fred may have told you, we actually are asking folks we have a poll in the field, and we're actually asking folks what they think. Do they believe that we have a problem on our roads? And if so, what kind of additional revenues would they be willing to consider, and on what? Would it be the gas tax? Would it be additional registration fees for the automobiles? What exactly would it be? I think that if we make the case, people are going to recognize that deferred maintenance on our highway system, and we need that highway system because it's an economic corridor. It's an economic vein into the world where practically everything we produce, most of everything we produce, whether it's on the farm or the factory, has to be shipped out of the state. And we need good highways. We need good bridges all over the state in order to access not only the rest of the U.S. market, but the international markets. And so whether you're going to work or going to play or whatever, folks like to get there. They like to get there safely, and they don't want to have a lot of problems getting there. But put this in your bonnet and tell me how we figure this one out. Zeb, I know you and I drive pickups, and sometimes those pickups don't get the best mileage, especially when we're pulling a load of horses, roping or something. Anyway, my pickup gets about 14 miles to the gallon, and when I drive into work from Star into Boise every day, it's about a 20-mile trip. And I'm stopped at a stoplight every once in a while, and I look down, and here's an electric car sitting right next to me. Now, I'm contributing 25 cents a gallon, or 25 cents every 14 miles to highway maintenance and safety and bridge reconstruction. That electric car, right now, with the exception of the registration, there really is no revenue coming from that car, which is taking up the same amount of room on the highway as my pickup. Also, wants the same amount of safety, wants the same amount of ability to get to work on time. And so we've got to figure out really what kind of revenue stream where we can also attract those people making a contribution to the highways. We've never faced that problem before, and that's something that we just have to figure out. So you tell me how we can do it, and we'll put that in the questionnaire too, Zeb.
All right. Governor, I'm going to go to another issue right now, and it's an issue that is a passion of mine. I do not like wolves. I was against the reintroduction of wolves in the state, but we had to through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We made agreements on behalf of the state that we would have 10 breeding pair or 100 wolves. We have exceeded that number by many, many times over, and the environmentalists want to stop any kind of management whatsoever. Your thoughts about wolf management in the state of Idaho?
Well, a deal's a deal, even though it was one that was, as you say, forced on us. And in 1994, when the Governor Batt did everything he possibly could to stop those wolves from coming into the state, but an agreement that had been assigned in the previous administration by the Fish and Game Director, and a permit that had been issued by that said that they were allowed to bring in a certain amount of wolves. And when we got up to, as you said, 10 breeding pairs in Idaho, 10 in Montana, 10 in Wyoming, and for a comfortable pack, they call it a comfortable pack, a sustainable pack, of 150 wolves per area, then we would be able to take over the management of it. In the meantime, a lot of those environmental groups that you talk about and other people that wanted wolves in Idaho also said, don't worry about your domestic livestock. If they kill a cow or if they kill a calf or if they kill some sheep, we'll pay for it. Well, as soon as we got management of those wolves, and they didn't say we'll only pay for it until Idaho gets management. They said, we'll pay for it. You let them come in, we'll pay for it. Well, as soon as we got management in 2009, they quit paying. And then when the judge up in Montana overturned Ken Salazar, the Secretary of the Interior's delisting, and then Mike Simpson put a rider on a concurrent resolution which had to pass the House, had to pass the Congress, that said that Idaho and Montana got management of the wolves, and it could not be subject to judicial review. Well, then they quit paying. As soon as they didn't get their way, they quit their part of the agreement. And quite frankly, they were pretty anemic in holding up that agreement on domestic livestock and also some of our ungulate herds like elk and deer.
Governor, when you look at the situation, and the Fish and Game, I believe, is trying to do all they can as a management tool, but hunting isn't going to lower the numbers. What kind of tactics can we employ to keep these numbers from ballooning and putting us right back into the problem we had at the turn of the last century?
Well, we're obviously studying and working on that as well. We understand the anxiety that we cause when we say we're going to employ additional abilities to take the wolf and also reduce their numbers. We fully understand the anxiety that we cause, but by the same token, those people need to realize that this is our livelihood. Our farmers and ranchers have to be able to have some certainty that when they turn their livestock out, they're going to be able to go out and gather those livestock, and when they sell that livestock, it's going to be available for their economy on their farm. And if we allow these wolf packs to continue to grow, and which they are, it's a very successful all but unfortunately in some cases, but it's a very successful endangered species effort by those folks. And, our argument from the get-go was, look, there's thousands of wolves up in Minnesota. There's a lot of wolves in Canada. There's a lot of wolves, or these same wolves that you people say are endangered from disappearing off the face of the earth. There's a lot of them everywhere. In fact, they're killing. They were killing at that time. They were killing wolves in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and the numbers that we agreed to, all but resisted. We're way over that, like 4 or 5 times in some of our zones.
Mm-hmm.
So our management says we're going to do what we have to do. That's why I asked for the Wolf Advisory Committee to advise the Fish and Game. That's why I asked for $2 million to be put into the wolf depredation, into the wolf number control account. They gave me $400,000, and I think that was fair. There was some concern by a lot of folks that, well, we didn't get the $2 million, but we had only intended to spend about $400,000 a year in the control and the number of reductions. And so I think the legislature correctly reasoned that if they're only going to spend, if they only need $400,000 this year, we can use some of that money for education. We can use some of that money for state employee raises. We can use some of that money for other things. And so our expectation is, how much are you going to lower? How much good are you going to do for $400,000? We'll come back next year, take a look at it. If we're successful, then we'll go ahead with another $400,000. That makes sense to me.
All right. Governor, we've got about 5 minutes left, and I want to get into another topic that really this year it was a scare for southern Idaho, possibly that there might be 178,000 acres taken out of agricultural production because of a lack of water. This is something that's going to come up again next year. What are your thoughts about water and how we're going to make all the water calls and keep the supply flowing?
Well, Zeb, I think you'll recall that in April of 2007, I called a water summit in Burley. And we had all of the stakeholders come in, all the folks that use water for whatever purpose, whether it's for agriculture or aquaculture or recreation or power production, you name it. We had all the stakeholders there. And as a result of that, and the leadership of guys like Bert Stevenson from your area and Scott Bedke from your area, both very knowledgeable on sustainable water in this state. If we're going to grow in the future at all, and we're up now to 1,600,000 people, if we're going to grow in our cities, in our communities, in our ability within our economy, we've got to know what kind of water we have in the future. And so the $15 million that I asked for in the State of the State actually is directed for sustainability. How do we recharge the aquifer, and at what level do we get the aquifer back to a healthy level? Where can we put additional capacity on top of the present dams we've got? We had a study a few years back that said if we could put 8 feet on top of every dam that's in Idaho today, in other words, just increase the depth by 8 feet, that we would double our reservoir capacity in the state of Idaho and our ability to hold water from year to year, our ability to increase power production. And so that's what that $15 million, part of that $15 million is going to. We're looking up in the Upper Snake, up in the Henry's Fork area. We're looking in the Boise drainage. Arrow Rock appears to be a great candidate for additional footage on top of the dam and subsequently additional capacity. Now, we can't put 8 feet on top of every dam because there's a lot of infrastructure, roads, bridges, towns in some cases that would be swamped, would be flooded. But other areas where we can look to build a dam, we should be looking for it, because the water in Idaho is Idaho's future. And sustainability, if we ever reach a comfortable level of where we have sustainability, then we will have a brighter future.
Governor, I've got about 2 minutes left, and I'd like you to refer to the last subject about Idaho's economy. Are you still as high and as much of a cheerleader about our economy and our future as you have been in the past?
I am. Zeb, I think it was 2008, you might remember, that we announced Project 60. Project 60 referred to $60 billion economy. In 2008, our economy was around $51.5 billion. We reasoned that if we could grow our economy from $51.5 billion up to another $8.5 billion to $60 billion, that we would, at the same taxing level, we would have not only money for all of the proper roles of government, for education, health and welfare, for higher education, for corrections, for all of the stuff that we do in Idaho and we spend money on in Idaho. We would also have quite a little bit of money to lower our tax rate, because the pie is much bigger. We can take a little smaller slice out of income tax, corporate tax, sales tax, personal property tax, taxes all over the place, and relieve the taxing burden in Idaho. Our target has been about, if we could get down to about 5% instead of the 7.4 we're at right now, which is what you pay, what you will pay in X number of days, about 5 days, 6 days. You'll pay 5%, or you'll pay 7.4% on your personal income tax. Corporations pay exactly the same rate. If we could get that down to about 5%, then we can even compete with states that have no income tax, like Wyoming and Oregon and Washington. They have sales taxes, they have property taxes, but they have no income tax. And when businesses are looking around to move in someplace, one of the many things that they look at is what's the tax burden. And so we want to be competitive. I think we can drive this economy with those same kind of numbers. We drove at $8.5 billion in about 6 years. I think we can expect that kind of growth if we just maintain an environment that is not only business friendly, but also friendly to the citizens of the state of Idaho.
Absolutely. Governor, again, my thanks for you taking the time to come on our program this morning, and you're always welcome here. Governor Butch Otter, God's blessings and the very best during your campaign, and we'll look forward to having you back on the show.
Well, thank you, Zep. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you on the short go.
You will, sir. Thank you very much. Governor Butch Otter on our program this morning, and we had a lot more questions, a lot more comments, but we just flat ran out of time, but we'll have him back for a rerun. You can bet on that in the future. Oh my, we've got a lot of things to tell you about here before we go to the news from ABC. I want to remind everybody, and I keep talking about this every day, Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. This is a wonderful place, a great asset to the community at 382 North Overland in Burley, and their motto is minor emergencies, major care. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7, and they believe in 3 main goals: getting you to feeling better really soon, and saving you time, and saving you money. And they accept most major insurances, and they just treat everything from flu, sinus infections, sprain strains, whether there's a break in the bone, infections, you name it, you stop in, because they will take care of you. At Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley. Some really nice folks. Coming up next hour, we're going to have the interview replay at 10:06 with Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. And, of course, he's going to be speaking at the King Fine Arts Center in Burley. That's going to be this Saturday night at 7 p.m. Get your tickets. Don't forget to call the number. It is 436-4149. That's coming up at the King Fine Arts Center in Burley this Saturday night at 7 p.m. Also want to remind you, too, Lennox Home Comfort Systems. My goodness sakes, qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems like gas furnaces and air conditioners, heat pump, whatever you need, it's right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. Gina, I'm sorry I didn't get to everything that we had in that last half hour. I just basically was running out of time.
The hour went quickly.
It did. You know, I'm going to ask you a favor that's in reverse of normally what I ask you. Maybe turn down the feed to me just a hair's breadth, just a skosh, and maybe that'll eliminate some of the sensitivity on the line. And I want to say thanks to Gina. She's done so much to help us with the Oliver North interviews and various things we put on the air. And we're going to have that interview in about 6-8 minutes right here on my program. And then at 10:30 this morning, you do not want to miss, we're going to have Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia, on the program and telling you exactly, like she has many times in the past, the negativity of Obamacare, where we are right now, and how people are being affected by this. So that'll be coming up at 10:30 this morning. Anything else, Gina, that maybe in the last 30 seconds I forgot to do or we need to do or chime in with something? Pardon me?
Did we do the weather?
We did that at 9:30, remember?
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I think,
you know, sometimes I even forget.
Well, don't worry about it. I'm older than you are, so I'm kind of like in a maze sometimes, that little mouse in a maze.
That's okay. I am too.
Okay. We're going to be back in, like I said, about 6 minutes with more Zeb at the Ranch. And don't go away. We've got some great guests coming up. And again, I want to reiterate, Colonel Oliver North coming into Burley on Saturday night, King Fine Arts Center. Don't forget to get your tickets now. I'll see you back in 6. You know, life is never dull on this program. We never know when all of a sudden the phone lines are going to be cut and stopped. And Gina and I, we just have a kind of a real live, vibrant view of everything that could change in a heartbeat right here on this program every day. And she's so on top of things over there. We appreciate it. Thanks, Gina. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, and they include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. Call them at 734-6969. We want to remind you about the Chadwick Sports Grill. Oh, the Chadwick Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, good food, great people, and a really neat environment in there. And today, Wednesday, they've got beef stroganoff with garlic toast and super salad. Oh, I love garlic toast. Oh, I like beef stroganoff. You're going to love all the food. You're going to love the menu right there at the Chadwick Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. On March 10th, we did an interview with Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. And as we've been telling you many times on this program, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North is going to be here in Burley area at the King Fine Arts Center on this Saturday night at 7 p.m., a night of patriots and today's heroes. And tickets are available. Go to www.sergeantchrisworkmanscholarship.com, or for more information and the tickets, 436-4149. Thanks again to Gina helping over at the station. We're going to play that interview again, so if you hear something that is time-related to about a month ago, don't worry about it. It was recorded on March 10th, and don't try to call in and ask questions because it's a taped interview. But here now, once again, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North on Zeb at the Ranch.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been honored on this program to have many, many, many of the top featured newsmakers around the United States and, for that matter, the world, and I consider this man to be a patriot to this great United States, a retired Marine, author, inventor, host of war stories on Fox News, a Silver Star, Bronze Star, and 2 Purple Heart recipient, and I say good morning cordially to Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Zeb, it's great to be with you. Thank you very much for the chance to be with you. I look forward to seeing you out there.
I am going to be there, and quickly I'll just tell everyone that the reason I'm having Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North on the program is that he's going to be coming into our area to speak at a Night of Patriots and Today's Heroes. That's going to be on April 12th at the King Fine Arts Center in Burley at 7 p.m., and of course it's going to go to enhance the scholarship fundraiser for the parents of Chris Workman that was killed in Afghanistan, and it's for the Chris Workman Scholarship Fund. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, a couple of quick questions as we go along here this morning. The policies of this administration, of Obama, and the military cuts, the Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel, to me it looks like another edition daily of the Keystone Cops. What are your thoughts about our foreign policy?
Well, without being offensive to anybody who may have voted for him, at least Barack Obama has made sure that Jimmy Carter is no longer the worst president in American history. And Jimmy Carter is the only graduate of my alma mater to ever make it to the White House. And I never thought you'd see anything quite so bad that we've matched it and exceeded it. When you look at what they're doing to the finest military that the world's ever known. Look, I spent 25 years in the Green Machine, so I've got a lot of experience. Grew up in the Army. My dad was a soldier. Went right off to the Marines at age 17, and I've seen a lot of our military over the course of certainly the last 13 years in 57 embeds with Fox. In fact, was out on that fire base just a few weeks before Chris Workman was killed. When you look at what this crowd is doing, the people of Ukraine are now paying the price that others have paid, like those in Syria, those in Libya, those in Egypt, and every ally that America has got to be asking themselves, can you really trust the Americans to give us peace through strength, as we've promised to do ever since the end of World War II?
Lieutenant Colonel, let me ask you this. Some of our greatest presidents were men of the military, and they understood respect through strength. In this case, President Obama, a community organizer that organized pancake suppers, has absolutely no experience whatsoever. How bad really is our situation in the world standing right now with other countries and respect back to us, the United States?
Well, I don't think a good commander-in-chief necessarily has to have military experience to be commander-in-chief. I mean, Abraham Lincoln had done a few minutes in the Illinois militia before he became president in what turned out to be the most turbulent time in our history after the Revolution. So you don't need military experience. What you have to have is a vision and a strategic perspective on how important America is, not just to ourselves, but to the rest of the world. Certainly since 1945, every president, no matter what party he or she has been in, with the singular exception of Jimmy Carter, has decided that the best way to preserve peace for America and offer others the hope of liberty is to lead. My experience, Zeb, is that the only way to lead is from the front, by example. That's the best leaders I've ever known. Certainly there's, I suppose, other examples, but yeah, and some may even take the Chris Workman Scholarship and go to Harvard, but Harvard doesn't offer a master's in business leadership. They offer a master's in business administration, and so do lots of other colleges, Idaho State and University of Idaho. They all offer those kinds of things. Leadership is the kind of thing that Chris Workman demonstrated. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of thing that we expect our presidents to offer. And this president has adamantly refused now for better than 5 years to offer leadership of any kind, other than to say that America is not an exceptional place anymore and that we're going to gut our national defenses. I mean, we've got the finest military today the world has ever known. It is all volunteer. For the very first time since the American Revolution, every single person serving in our armed forces is a volunteer. And they've gone to war because of 9/11/01, not because of gold or oil or colonial conquest. They've gone or the international community, I would point out. They go to offer others the hope of freedom because it's going to make America a safer place. And unfortunately, this president does not seem to understand that.
The Workman family, of course, has put together the scholarship fund, and I think it's absolutely a wonderful idea in honor of Sergeant Chris Workman. And you, of course, coming in to speak at a Night of Patriots and Today's Heroes. Without giving away the entire message, what basically do you want the audience to know so that they want to buy tickets, they want to be there on April the 12th, and they want to hear your message? Tell us a little bit about why.
I'm going to challenge everybody there. This Chris Workman Memorial Scholarship is a tax-exempt organization. So here we are 3 days before tax season when we're going to be there, and remind everybody that next year they get to deduct their contributions to the scholarship fund from their taxes. That's number one. Number two, you can't have too many of these in America. The very best of these kinds of activities are at the local level, where people know the kinds of sacrifices made, in this case by the Workman family, the ultimate sacrifice by Chris himself, the kinds of people that go off to serve our country as soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardsmen, Marines, and they are the very bravest and best of a generation. And so this scholarship fund is a great reminder to youngsters of the heroism that precedes them, gives them an opportunity for a college scholarship they otherwise might not have gotten, and lets them have the opportunity to serve their country as well. So my encouragement is more of this around America, and I'm pleased to be part of this out there.
Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, let me ask you this question. What do you think about the youth in general today? Do they really understand and appreciate the patriotism that's gone into this country?
Well, look, you make a very good point. I'm encouraged by the young people of this country because I have 14 grandkids. And 4 kids who've delivered those 14 grandkids for us. I look at the young people today and say, what we're handing them are some enormous challenges, not simply in national security, but economically, the tax burdens, the debt, and things that are being run up by this administration. Hopefully, we are worthy of the sacrifices of the Chris Workmans who've given their lives and lost their lives in the process of defending this country. And yet I find young people still lining up to volunteer to serve because they know the importance of service to this country. So I'm encouraged by the future. I'm encouraged by the fact that I think you're going to have a bunch of youngsters coming along that understand that they're not entitled to everything in the world, that the government cannot do everything for us, that personal responsibility comes with the liberties that were provided for us, starting at the very beginning with the Declaration of Independence, that are enshrined in our Constitution, and hopefully we will continue to have good people like Chris Workman volunteering to serve our country.
I really want to say how much I'm looking forward to meeting you and talking to you that night, a Night of Patriots and Today's Heroes. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North is going to be there speaking at the King Fine Arts Center at 7 p.m. on April 12th. And after I conclude this conversation, I'll give people ticket information, etc. But Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, one final thought. With all that I agree with you on, every time I listen to you on Fox and other places, is there a political aspiration in your mind possibly to lead us out of these doldrums?
One of the things that you will see, Zeb, is that all of my books are dedicated to the same woman, the one that I married 45 years ago, and who just had a birthday yesterday. And I could not ask for your vote for something if I couldn't get hers. If I came home tonight and said to her, hey, look, I'm going to run for public office, I stand a very good chance of waking up in a pool of my own blood on the kitchen floor, hearing her say, how do I reload this thing? So, the Secret Service cannot protect me from Betsy.
I think we'll wrap it at that, and I would like to ask if I could possibly get you back on the air at another time. You're an excellent guest. Thank you so much. God's blessing.
I look forward to being with you and to seeing you out there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, and he will be speaking in Burley at April 12th at 7 p.m. at the King Fine Arts Center, a Night of Patriots and Today's Heroes, and that's for the scholarship scholarship fundraiser for the Sergeant Chris Workman Scholarship Fund. Absolutely an excellent guest, and I'm looking forward to listening to him that night. By the way, let's give some of the ticket information right now while we have the opportunity. Tickets are available at www.sergeantchrisworkmanscholarship.com, or for more information, call 436-4149. And all that ticket information, once again, this is going to be April 12th at the King Fine Arts Center at 7 p.m., and I have to be there. This is going to be absolutely excellent. The Sergeant Chris Workman Memorial Scholarship Fund, all proceeds will benefit educational scholarships, both academic and military, in the state of Idaho.
All right, there you have it. And Gina, thank you very much over at the station. But now, Gina, we have some tickets to perhaps give away, do we not?
We have one pair of tickets to give away, and that is it.
Now, are we going to give these as a sole entity, I mean all by themselves together, or are we going to separate them? Or
what we can do is we can separate the pair of tickets because the seats are not together. They're in two different locations, so we can separate them out, or we can give them away as a pair. That is your choice.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let's give them away as a pair, because I'd love to see a husband and wife win these. Okay. And I'm going to ask a question regarding our military, and this should be a really easy question. Now, the first person that calls in at 436-2244 with the right answer will receive these free tickets to listen to Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. And here is the question. What is the smallest branch of our military? What is the smallest branch of our military? Call right now at 436-2244 or 1-866-927-4587, and we'll give you those tickets. What do you think of that question? Oh, we got a caller already. Holy buckets. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Zeb. I'm going to say the U.S. Coast Guard.
Who are you?
My name's Clinton.
Clinton, what's your last name?
Kanak.
All right. Now, are you going to be able to go to the auditorium, the King Fine Arts Center, on Saturday night?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
Play anyway.
I tell you what we'll do. Do you have someone that you could give the tickets to so that we make sure that those tickets are being used?
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
All right. If you could swing by the station, you are the winner. It is the United States Coast Guard, and it's the smallest branch of our military. And swing by, pick up those tickets. Congratulations to you, and make sure, please, that whoever gets those tickets shows up on Saturday evening.
Okay.
All right.
The radio station is located right across the street from Minico High School.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye.
Well, there we have a ticket winner, and hopefully they'll make sure that whoever's going to go in their stead will be there Saturday night.
Yes. And, of course, if anybody wants to get tickets, of course, tickets still will be available at the door. There are some meet and greet VIB tickets available and, of course, general admission. And to get your tickets, and maybe if you want to get them in advance, please get a hold of Anna at 436-4149. Or you can get online, go to Sergeant Chris Workman Scholarship.com, and if you don't remember that, just hop onto Zeb's Facebook page, and I've got the link set up there.
There you go. And another thing, too, that I wanted to mention, and it's in regards to my dear friend Ron Ellis. You heard him yesterday issue a challenge, and he's going to be home tomorrow and taking tickets around to various businesses, and any business that sells the most tickets, you heard what he said he was going to offer a float trip to, remember?
I do. I do remember. So the person who sells the most tickets, just let us know that, and then we'll send the information over to Ron Ellis.
All right. Ron's a very dear friend of mine. By the way, that's coming up on Saturday night, and we're going to be hammering it home all the way tomorrow, too. I got to tell you this, Gina, because this is scary. You know, we always support our police forces, and we always are very high on them, but there are always some bad apples in any barrel. You want to hear a story in the Atlanta, Georgia area that'll scare you to death as a parent?
Okay, go for it.
Okay, here you go. Picture this. In a town, a little bitty town near Atlanta, there are some fifth graders that are in a tree, and they're making a tree fort. A lady complains, and she says that the kids, by building a tree fort, are hurting the tree environmentally. So they call 911, and the police show up, and one of the cops absolutely goes overboard, grabs his pistol out of his holster, and forces the 11-year-olds out of the tree and makes them lay face down on the lawn and starts yelling profanities at them.
Oh, I hope somebody caught this on video. I hope the parents are in an outrage, and I hope this cop he gets in massive trouble. And come on, it's a tree fort.
I couldn't believe this story when I read this because the parents are outraged, the kids are traumatized, and the wife of the guy, the guy's wife, Edgar Dillard, is the one that made the 911 call, and they sat there in their house, the neighborhood do-gooder or the neighborhood busybody. You know who I'm talking about. And all of a sudden, they were sitting there, and the cops came over there. They drew their firearm, ordered the kids to spread eagle themselves face down on the ground, and then all of a sudden, these people that made the 911 call, they were fearing for the children's safety, and my goodness, this whole situation got out of hand. When you hear stories like this, those two particular policemen should never put a badge on again.
No, and honestly, those are 11-year-old kids doing what kids do. They're building a tree fort. Is it really necessary to pull your duty weapon out and make them spread eagle face down on the ground? Really?
And the problem is with this kind of a story that a lot of kids, they look at policemen as positive role models. And how would you...
aren't anymore.
Boy, their attitude's been shaken, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has.
Well, when I read this story, I thought I better tell you about it because here's what the police captain said. Sergeant Joey Smith remained relatively tight-lipped when he was confronted about this situation, and he said, if it was justified, then we'll deal with it. If it wasn't, we'll address it as well. Now, you got to tell me how ordering 11-year-olds and 10-year-olds out of a tree is justified with holding a pistol on them and ordering them to lay face down on the ground.
It's not justified. Absolutely not justified.
But,
honestly, do these kids have handguns? No, probably not. They probably had some little itty-bitty hammers or, whatever they could find, maybe some rocks and some nails to make their tree fort.
That's what they were doing. That's exactly right. Yes.
What is wrong with people? What is wrong with this whole situation? Oh, my goodness. These are just little kids doing what kids do. I remember building a fort when I was a kid.
Yeah, I do too, but I couldn't climb trees that good.
Called on me.
Well, think of I hate to say this, it sounds so negative, but it could have happened. Think of what would have happened if in that tree fort they'd have been playing like cowboys and Indians or whatever and would have had maybe some toy guns up there.
Oh, then probably the police would have acted in accordance with their fear.
Oh, my.
Shot.
Oh, my.
These kids.
Go ahead.
No, that's all I have to say.
I'm just absolutely outraged over something like this as to why the officers couldn't have gone to the tree fort and said by looking up, 5-6 feet up in the air, 10 feet at the most, and said, okay, guys, come on down to the tree. If that's not your tree, you don't belong in there, and there's no hammering or nailing or building a fort up there. And it could have been handled in kind of a Andy of Mayberry type style, but to order them down at the point of a gun and have these little kids lay down face down on the lawn, you've got to be kidding me.
I, as a parent, would probably go knock on the do-gooder's door and say, you know what, next time, butt out. This isn't your property. This is my property. These aren't your kids. These are my kids. They had permission to do it, butt out.
And you're being 10 times more polite than I would have been.
No, well, I have to be polite on the air, but we've got a phone call too real quick.
Quick call. We've only got 2 minutes left.
They hung up.
Oh, dear. I wanted to hear what they had to say. But anyway, we're trying to be fair and balanced on the stories that we have on the program. 90% of our stories, I think, are all pro-police, etc. But when you hear a story like this, you have to warn the public that there are bad people out there sometimes in high positions.
sometimes there are. I mean, all of the police officers that I know, very helpful, very cordial. You know, they always handle it in the correct and proper situation. They've got level heads. But when you get officers that are not level-headed and they go above and beyond, these are the officers that are giving everybody else a bad name.
Yeah, and the one cop with the gun, they said in the story, was standing over the kids yelling obscenities to the kids. Now, would you please tell me why, if the kids complied and climbed down out of the tree, and they're 10 and 11 years old, and they're laying face down on the dirt like they're armed robbers, why would you have to continue holding an armed pistol at the back of their heads, yelling obscenities at them?
I haven't read the story, but this is my hunch. He's a rookie cop, first year, doesn't know what he's doing. Get him out if that's the attitude.
Welcome to the uniform, Barney Fife. Real quick call. I've only got time for a short one. Go real fast.
Oh yeah, I've noticed that around the country that seems like a lot of the police departments are hiring psychopaths, and there were two of them right there on those kids.
Well,
I ran into one of them up in Alaska, and I ran into another one up by, where was I? Elk City, here in Idaho.
All right, well, I'm sure that there's hiring of bad individuals in certain jobs and capacities. Unfortunately, they should be weeded out. I do appreciate your call. I got to run right now. I got a hard break coming up at 10:30. Thank you, sir, very much. But in this case, ordering these 11 and 10-year-olds out of a tree fort at gunpoint, absolutely ridiculous. Don't forget, again, ladies and gentlemen, Lennox Home Comfort Systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort always from our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Right now, we'll take a break. Be back in 3.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour on the program this morning. And I believe we're going to go to the phone lines right now, and we're very blessed to have this wonderful lady come back on our program. She's been here about 4 or 5 times in the past discussing Obamacare and really how bad it has been for the American public. I'd like to reintroduce her one more time, Dr. Elena George. Good morning, and thank you for coming on the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, you are a blessing to have on the program. You know, we talked earlier before Obamacare came into its inception, and we've had you on the air talking about the negativity of what will happen and what might happen. Now that you've seen the program start to be implemented with the website, etc., and the supposed people signing up for Obamacare, give me your overall thoughts as to what you think is happening now, or maybe what the government's trying to cover up.
Well, unfortunately, it's rolling out the way I expected it to. I think most people are thinking that the website is probably a pretty big disaster, but I think it's doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is to gather information about people on this website under the guise of getting health insurance. They take your name, your social security number, your banking routing information, your tax returns. They keep them for over 10 years. And they have a wealth of information that basically no one else really knows. And the back end or the cash register part of this is not completed. So when you send your money or when you give your information for payment, there is no guarantee that it actually gets to the insurance company. And doctors across the country are seeing patients who think they're covered come in, and when you try to call the insurance company to confirm, they're not even in their system. So it's basically a fact-finding, gathering information, and that's pretty much it. It's not really about health care. I never thought that it was. I always thought it was more about control.
Dr. George, let me back up from the beginning. And originally, the concept of Obamacare was supposedly to give coverage or provide coverage to about 40 million people. Earlier this morning, I had United States Senator from Idaho, Mike Crapo, on the program, and I said, wouldn't it have been a lot easier at that juncture, at that point, to create a program or something to provide coverage to the 40 million and leave the rest of America's health insured alone? What are your thoughts about that?
I think you have a very great idea. I mean, what they've managed to do is break the actual private health insurance market. We've had people who had health insurance they loved that they lost, and we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. They've just delayed these mandates. So potentially this is going to hit small business owners, people who take their insurance from corporate America. They're next. So this is about reconfiguring the healthcare system. This is something that they've been trying to do for years. And if you look at the architects of Obamacare, Ezekiel Emanuel is a bioethicist who was part of that system, who set this up. The whole thing was about leading people towards a system where the government gets to decide who the winners and the losers are. And because there are finite resources, the government and the bean counters get to decide who gets to access the system. And he wrote extensively about this in something called the Complete Lives System, where if you're between the ages of about 18 and 35, that's where most of the healthcare dollars should be spent, in his opinion. And people who fall outside that could get less because they're less valuable.
Isn't that what we talked about on one of our programs? As I look back through my notes about a year ago when I had you on the show, that's exactly what we were talking about, a hemlock society or a death panel. And this is exactly what Ezekiel Emanuel was talking about in his paper. And I've got his paper right here about maybe a discontinuance or a cutback on coverage to older individuals, especially over 65. And isn't that exactly kind of the hemlock society that you and I had talked about?
It is exactly what we talked about. I think people get caught up in semantics and they get their emotions really just revved up about the word death panel. I think that you should let that go and think about actuality here. Under Obamacare, we're talking about a managed care system where the cost of health care is being shifted more to the patient. They promise people they're going to get health insurance, and that's really all you get. They have to start talking about health coverage and access, because those are not equal. So when people join Obamacare, for example, and pay for a bronze plan, which is the cheapest version, they have to pay $600 or plus out of pocket for a premium and up to $6,000 out of pocket as a deductible. So when you start to think about how you access a patient care, they have to come up with $6,000 before the insurance kicks in a penny. That means you have to afford up to $6,000 to see your doctor, have a procedure done, buy a medication. It's really what you have to pay out of pocket, not that you have an insurance card. And so the government is really trying to conflate the two, as if you have health insurance, you're covered and everything's great, and if you don't, you're going to die. And that's not the case.
Dr. George, what about these canceled policies of these people that absolutely are probably suffering from cancer or kidney problems, any one of a plethora of many problems that affect people today, and all of a sudden they're canceled policies and they maybe signed up for Obamacare after they finally got through on the computer, but it was never signed up with a premium and they have no coverage. Do you know of any horror stories in your area specifically that people are absolutely destitute because of the cancellations?
I haven't had anybody from my area that I know of, specifically, but I've read extensively on people. For example, I think the gentleman from Nevada who signed up for Obamacare, paid 3 months of premiums, then had a heart attack and found out that he wasn't covered, and now has to pay over $400,000 payment to the hospital. So, I mean, this is happening all over the country. These are just the people who get the press, but this happens every day, where they stop covering cancer drugs, or you find out that your oncologist is no longer on your plan. So this is subtle, and what people who are proponents of this are calling these winners and losers. These are people's lives. And as a physician, I said this before in the show, I'm going to say it again. This is about the Hippocratic Oath to me. This is not about cost centers. It's not about winners and losers and winning at all costs. It's people's lives, and doctors are being put in a position where they're not able to help their patients because of government mandates. And I really have a problem with that, Deb, I have to tell you. And there's going to be a two-tier system that gets created. People who can afford to opt out of Obamacare are going to go and pay for their services on their own, and people who are stuck in the system are going to be in the, Ezekiel Emanuel School of Medicine, where if you're of the right age and they think that you're worthy, they'll help pay for you, and if you're not, then they want hospice and palliation and make you comfortable. And that's not appropriate. That's not what medicine should be about.
Dr. George, let me ask you this question regarding some of state-run exchanges. Now, Idaho has a state insurance exchange. What about where you live? Are any of these exchanges offering policies that are being accepted and adequate for the coverage? What do you know about the exchanges that have been set up through the government with Obamacare?
I know for the most part they're not working. There's fraud within the system. People who are running these exchanges, some of them are identity theft. It wasn't even vetted. The people didn't even have to pass a background check to help run these exchanges, and they're wasting money. And they don't have as many people signed up as they say they do. And of the people who are signing up, a majority are finding that they qualify for Medicaid, not for private insurance. And I want to be really clear about this, and this is a real subtle point that people don't know probably. If you sign up for Medicaid, essentially you're not getting free health care, because if you make more money the next year, or God forbid you lose a loved one and they went into a hospital, their estate has to pay the money back that the government paid for their health delivery. And the same thing goes for those who get a subsidy for private insurance. If they pay for part of your premium the first year and you do better the second year, you have to pay back what they paid you. So I really said this, and I think it's true. People won't see tax returns because they're going to have to pay the money back. There is no free ride here. They just make people think that there is one.
Absolutely. Now, we have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. Please make it short and succinct, if you would, please. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I just went on Social Security this month. I just got my first check. And can I get out of not signing up for Medicare?
That's a good question. Dr. George, did you hear that?
I did. Unfortunately, they're tied to each other, I found out. So if you qualify, when you qualify by age to take Medicare, that becomes your primary insurance. And if you opt out of it or decide not to take it, you actually have to forego the Social Security benefits. It's a real catch-22.
What about Medicare and the system right now? Every time I pick up the newspaper in the last couple of days, and every time I get my news articles coming from Washington or New York for my program, we're hearing that Medicare is on the verge of total collapse. Can you give us an update as to what your thoughts are about Medicare?
I think it's not solvent. They took over $700 million out of Medicare to set up the infrastructure of Obamacare. That was patient-centered money that was supposed to be used for patient care, just siphoned out of the system. Then they cut off a Medicare Advantage, which a lot of seniors really loved because it gave them more freedom. That's gone. Now they're talking about really just putting a yoke on doctors who provide Medicare services, where we're essentially felons until proven otherwise. If we undercharge you, that's a fraud. I mean, it's just so confusing on doctors, and a lot of doctors are leaving the system. And we just got a reprieve, but they were thinking, or were going to drop doctor reimbursement another 25%, but that Congress expanded that or pushed that back out. So the Medicare population is really having a tough time. They can't find a private doctor to take care of them. What they have to pay out of pocket is increased. Their access is decreased. It's a really bad system. And if people who are proponents of Medicare for all think that putting more people in the system is going to make it better, I really doubt that's going to happen.
Right. Now, Dr. George, the famous or infamous statement that President Obama made on at least 20 to 22 different speeches where he said that you can keep your doctor and you can keep your health plan, period. Has this affected you already?
I will not be taking Obamacare in my practice because I don't want to work against the interests of my patients. It's set up in such a way that if a doctor wants to take Obamacare, that they have to practice against their Hippocratic oath. And it's an interesting article that your listeners should look up from Ezekiel Emanuel, June 18, 2008, an issue of the Journal of American Medical Association, where he says specifically that medical school, that the Hippocratic oath should be broken. The doctor-patient relationship should be broken, basically, because it costs too much money, because doctors are more interested in the welfare of their patients than the good of the state. That's ridiculous. That's where this thing is all leaning towards. We're agents of the government. We're designed to be gatekeepers, to deny care because of cost, and we're no longer working for the interests of our patients if we fall into this trap. And there are doctors all over the country, independent doctors, who will not do this. And I recommend that your listeners, if they really care about their health, start finding these physicians. And they're everywhere. If we go to American Academy of Physicians and Surgeons, AAPSonline.org, there's a list of doctors across the country who think exactly like I do.
Dr. George, you just talked about Ezekiel Emanuel, and I read what you just said. I have a copy of that, as a matter of fact, and it's a blatant scare for the American public to realize that our lives are not, they almost seem like they're being cheapened by this administration and by this Obamacare policy. But what about from here on into the future? Can they being the government and the Obama administration, can they make reparations to Obamacare so that it can be somewhat useful and helpful to the American public, or is this the biggest sham that's ever come down the pike?
I think it's a Ponzi scheme, honestly, Zeb. And for me, I've come to a point in my life and my career where I don't think that I don't want to depend on the government to take care of me to do anything. And as a physician, as a business owner, as an American citizen, I'm now willing and able to take responsibility for my own health and the way I deliver to my patients. And there is an option that's outside of Obamacare, outside of medical insurance. It's called free market medicine. And it exists, and it's thriving in the country, but nobody knows about it. Under Obamacare, for example, there's something called a health sharing ministry. It used to be just for Christians, but now there's a company called Liberty Health Share that offers it to anybody who's liberty-minded. It's not insurance, it's a sharing, a cost-sharing organization where Americans across the country pool their resources, and it is allowed under Obamacare. So, for example, the most expensive version of this, $199 a month per individual, $500 maximum out of pocket, with $1 million per occurrence per year, paid for any medical problem, hospitalization, dental surgery, any kind of eye surgery. And that's how I think people can work their way out of this sinkhole that Obamacare has become. Handle your own business. Start controlling your own medical dollar and start working with doctors and free market centered surgery centers, radiology, oncology, everybody. There's a whole wealth of doctors out here who can make a deal with you, 70% discount for fee for service. So you don't have to die if you don't have insurance. You can actually live and actually have choice. Because I don't think people know this, but of the 19 cancer centers in this country, only 4 accept Obamacare. So God forbid you come down with something, where are you going to go?
Right.
So there's rationing of all kinds going on. They price you out, they opt you out of your panel, or they just straight up deny you. So I'm getting letters from insurance companies telling me that I can't do something because, quote, it's not medically necessary. So now they're practicing medicine. It doesn't matter what my academy says. It doesn't matter what my judgment is. The insurance company is telling me, we'd say you're not allowed to do it because it's not medically necessary. I'm not ever going to enter a system like that, and I counsel my patients to start shopping around and taking responsibility. And when you do that, you're going to get better quality care.
Absolutely. We have a caller with another question. Caller, quickly, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I just called about the Medicare. Now, can I take this type of insurance rather than Medicare?
You have to keep your Medicare if you want to do your Social Security, but you could just buy this outside of it.
All right.
So it's completely separate, basically.
Thank you for your
or
call.
You can also buy a supplemental plan from like Aflac or Mutual of Omaha, for example, which will pay you a cash value for disease states. So you can buy coverage for, heart attack or stroke or cancer. And if you get one of these diagnoses, God forbid, you'll actually get a check paid to you with no questions asked. And I've heard of policies for about $250,000 that cost about $50 a month. So there's ways around the system that won't bankrupt you. And another really awesome resource is a book called The Self-Pay Patient, which has come out over the last couple of months. This Mr. Parnell, the author, he's just put everything into a really concise handbook that I think everybody would benefit reading.
Absolutely. Thank you for your call, caller. Last thought this morning, Dr. George, but the youth, the younger generation in this country, they seem so absolutely naive about what the status is right now with health care in this country, what their status is. They think they're going to live forever. And when you hear and see these man-on-the-street interviews, they couldn't care less. They're not even cognizant of what's going on. You must be, as a doctor, very concerned for the younger generation in this country, because this is going to be a wreck. They will not have coverage. What is the future for these young people?
Well, I actually do worry about them, because those that have signed on to the Medicaid option, paying very little, once they finally enter the workforce, hopefully they will, they're going to have to pay all that money back. So we're talking about a transfer of wealth and a transfer of health under the cover of we love everybody. It's a great PR campaign. It's a blitz. But I really recommend that people do their own due diligence. You can go to my website, drelenageorge.com. I've been writing about this for over 3-4 years now, and I really am very conscious of giving resources. Don't take my word for it. Do what I did. Go out there and read for yourself. I give you the links. I give you all the basics that you can go and learn yourself. And my most recent blog gives links to everything I spoke about. The libertyhealthshare.org, the Self-Pay Patient, aapsonline.org. They're all there so that you can go and really help yourself. Stop being a victim, because you do not have to be.
Absolutely. Dr. Elena George, you have been such a real asset to this program. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. And please note that I'd love to have you back on the air in the future. Thank you again for all your time this morning.
It's my pleasure. I can't wait to come back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. One very nice lady right there, Dr. Elena George, and please go to her website and check it out, drelenageorge.com, and she brought some very interesting ideas about coverage and protecting yourself to the program this morning, and oh boy, we've got trouble. Obamacare is not what it's cracked up to be. And I've got to say this, I read that report by Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's brother, and basically through the whole report, the gist of what I read was, when you get older, over 55, we don't care about you. We don't care about your coverage. Just go die. Get out of the way. And it's a cold, calculated piece. It's about 3 pages long, and I'll share some of that with you tomorrow on the program. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We've got to do a weather update real quick with MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats has been in southern Idaho for over 20 years, and they offer quality products at very reasonable rates, selling taste one bite at a time. And now, here's Michael.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. We're going to have a sunny day. Yes, we are. I can see Gina sitting there going, dude, do not give up your day job. And that's okay. Partly cloudy for today. That is the official nomenclature term from the National Weather Service. But basically, you're going to see sunny clouds. I told you the day before yesterday, you're going to see sunny clouds for the next 10 days. So far, it's working out as advertised. 71 for the high today, 41 for the overnight low. Now, it's still going to be breezy. Tonight's going to be pretty breezy. It's going to stay that way until Friday. Other than that, tomorrow, mainly sunny with a daytime high of 70. Springtime in the Magic Valley. Enjoy the weather. The only weather you got.
Thank you very much. MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And don't forget, they offer quality products at very reasonable rates, expert meat cutting, and they also have their own smokehouse, and they're selling taste one bite at a time. Call them 324-7657. Oh, and by the by, don't forget, too, that your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers are having a huge, humongous spring tire sale. That's right, all the tires are on sale, like, the Ultra Z900, their best all-season touring tire, on sale. 20% more tread life, outstanding wet and dry traction, quieter riding tire, it's on sale. And for those of us that have pickups, don't forget they've got the Open Country AT2, their best traction light truck tire, on sale. All of these tires and more, along with the best in brake service, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, custom wheels, all that is really for you at very economical prices at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell. Don't forget Mike over in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We made it, Gina. Busy day.
Boy, howdy.
And tomorrow is the busiest day of the week for all of us, and that's Thursday. We've got kind of a shotgun approach to about, 20 different segments?
Actually, I'm sitting down right now, and I'm writing out the log for tomorrow.
Well, I tell you what, some of the highlights, we've got Vicky's Country Garden coming on. We've got the Chamber of Commerce report. We've got the lovely Rita Ramsey coming on. She's always very interesting. We've got Starving to Death. We've got Cassia County School Days. And we've got also, don't forget, my buddy from Austin, Texas, professor and teacher Randy Givens is going to be coming on, and he's going to be talking about politics in general as we lead up to the 2014 election. So we've got a lot of things on tomorrow's program.
Are you ready for the election?
I am, but I don't think the Republicans are.
You know, I don't think that they are either, and I'm hoping that the Tea Party really shines through this year.
You know, I'm so glad to hear you say that. The Tea Party, would you tell me quickly, and I've only got 30 seconds left, what in the world could possibly be wrong with an organization that believes in smaller government, that believes we should not spend over our budgets? What could be possibly wrong with that kind of an organization, and why more people aren't supporting it?
Oh, well, because everybody wants to be a liberal, and they want everybody, and they want the government to take care of them, so they want big government while we want small government.
The nanny state.
Yes.
All right. Listen, Gina, thanks. Great job. Appreciate it, everybody. And don't forget, too, coming up on Saturday night, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North at the King Fine Arts Center at 7 o'clock. Tickets are on sale, 436-4149. Be sure and get those tickets. We'll tell you more about that tomorrow. The way things were, the way things ought to be. Zeb at the Ranch, we'll see you at 8:06 tomorrow morning.